Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mindful Podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Elliott, and if there is some wind sounds, the audio is not the best for this podcast episode. I am completely sorry. I'm in my car, and I am recording on my way to work. The reason is because last night I did record an episode, but I was like half asleep, and I've been thinking about it all morning, and I don't like it, and I have to get an episode done before the end of the day, and I'm pretty busy all day, so we are recording on the way to work. Is this the best solution? Probably not, but here we are, and I'm very excited about this episode. I really like the point that I talked about, so we're just gonna get started, and we're just gonna redo it, okay? So here we are. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I hope that your March has been well so far. If not, don't forget that you can always turn that around. And there's one thing I saw was our brain is wired to think of the negative things that are happening, and so we could have 50 good things happen in a day and one bad thing, and then we could fixate on that one bad thing, and we could tell everybody that we had a bad day. But in reality, if you think about all the good things, you had a really good day. It was just there was one bad thing that happened, and we have to overcome that. We have to look for the good things. So if you're not having a very good March, or your week didn't start out the way that you thought it was going to, or the way that you wanted it to, just remember that you can always change that. It's just how you are looking at things and what your perspective is. So you can change it, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. But let's get into today's episode. So we are going to be talking about not waiting till tomorrow to get things done, and living in the moment and living now. And I mean, I've had a few discussions of this with some peers and people I work with and mentors. My boyfriend and I talked about it, and there's so much that goes into living in the moment rather than living in the future. Yes, we can plan for things, we can set goals, we can, book a vacation in a month, but in reality, we don't know if we're gonna be there. In reality, we don't know if we're even gonna wake up tomorrow morning. So I think a lot of us, especially me more recently, because I am very busy, and anybody in my personal life, you could ask them how busy I am and they will tell you, but I have put some things on the back burner, some of the most important things that God is calling me towards, and it's because I'm just not making time for it, and I keep telling myself that I'll do it tomorrow, when in reality, tomorrow comes, and then I still don't do it, and then tomorrow becomes yesterday, and so it's just this cycle that I've been putting myself in, and nothing is getting accomplished that needs to be getting accomplished. Yes, I am getting my schoolwork done. Yes, I'm showing up to work. Yes, I'm still volunteering at the church and serving in multiple ways that way, but the reality is God is calling me towards some things in life, and I'm not getting them done because I keep saying that tomorrow is going to come. Listen, guys, tomorrow is not promised. And if you're sitting here today and there's one big thing on your to-do list, one thing that needs to get done, then do it today. Make time for it today, because tomorrow might not be there. That's not to scare you. That's just a reality. And I think one of the things that I work at a church. I'm a secretary, so we have staff meeting, and one of the pastors said that, yes, we always have these to-do lists, but there's one important thing that we have to do every single day. Spend intentional time with God. That is the one thing that you should be checking off every single day before anything else. And so if that is your one thing today, if that is the thing that you have to do and you keep pushing it off, then do that. And then get into a routine of doing that every single day and making that a priority, because it needs to be a priority. It's so important to have that intentional time with God, because your foundation in life should be through Christ and the Bible, and that should be basically That should be your life. Like, you should be basing your life off of that. You should be basing your decisions off of that. Your decisions should be going through the lens of Christ and if it's in line with the Bible or not. And I just want all of us to understand, and I think that I'm doing this episode because I need to understand that tomorrow is not promised. You know, let tomorrow worry about itself. Obviously, like, that is such an amazing Bible verse. But tomorrow is not promised. So we have to live now. We have to show up today. We have to do our best for today. And that might look different than tomorrow. That might look different than what it did yesterday. But we have to do our best. And one of the biggest things that this comes down to is not the to-do list of, oh, I need to clean the bathroom, I need to do the dishes, I need to sweep the floors, I need to clean out my car, I need to go get groceries. Not that kind of to-do list. Okay? The kind of to-do list that's going to change God's kingdom. Some of you might not know your calling. Some of you might not understand exactly what God is calling you to do. But if you pray and you listen to Him, He's gonna show you the steps, one step at a time. Prayer is so powerful. It is so good, and it is necessary for us to understand what God is calling us to do. We have to be able to eventually understand where our calling is, and some people it's going to be bigger than others, and not because you're not as important, but because that little piece that you are filling up is necessary for God's kingdom, and you are perfect for it, or He wouldn't be calling you to that place. So we need to understand where God is calling us to. And that might take some time. If you're in your teens, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, and you still don't know what God is calling you to do, that's perfectly okay. There's no rush. Like I said, those big to-do lists are part of what God is calling us to do and what we need to do to fulfill His kingdom. But the whole point of living now is to not fixate on that. If you don't know what your calling is, you can still be actively resting. You could still read the Bible every single day, pray every day, still fellowship with your friends, and still become a leader in different areas of the church, or I don't know, maybe going to the nursing home and having a Bible study with the elderly people. There's so many different ways that you could be working in God's kingdom, and eventually, if you just keep trying different things here and there, it's gonna showcase you your strengths, it's gonna showcase you your weaknesses, and you are going to be able to find out what exactly God is calling you to, where He wants you, and what piece of the puzzle you are. I don't want this episode to be like, oh, you need to figure out what God is calling you to so that you can check everything off. No. Listen. The whole point of this episode is to tell you guys that you were made for a purpose. I don't know what the purpose is. The only person that really does is God. Eventually, it can come out and you can share it with the people around you, but while you're going through life figuring that out, the only person that knows is God, and so the only person that you are ever going to figure that out from is Him. God is the only one who can tell you what you are meant to be doing with your life. Now, with that being said, every single day we have to show up with the intention that today is our last day. Not to scare ourselves, not to put 100 things on a to-do list and try and get them all done, but to make sure we are treating people correctly, to make sure that we are looking for the good things instead of the bad, to make sure that we are doing what God is calling us to do instead of just filling our days up with nonsense and things that don't really matter. Making sure we're spending intentional time with Him. And not pushing things off until tomorrow because we don't know if tomorrow is promised. One thing that I think we all should look at, I'm going to link it in the show notes because the video was so good. Craig Groeschel, which is the pastor of Life Church, he had this sermon that he was doing, and in there was a video of one of those sand timers that we use for board games, and just the way he went about that whole analogy was so good. I teared up multiple times watching it. Like every single time I watched it, I teared up because it was so good. So I'm going to link that video, and I'm going to tell you guys where that clip starts in the show notes so you guys can go check it out. But it's definitely necessary to watch. And that whole analogy is so perfect for life because at the top we have our life, and every single day, you know, we have more in the area of, like, we are slowly dying every single day. So top is life, the bottom is death, and every single day we're losing more and more sand, and eventually that sand runs out. Sometimes we think we have more than what we did. Sometimes we think we have less than what we did, but it's continuing to go down, and we're slowly dying every single day. And just realizing, like, you might not have as much sand as you think you do in that top part of the timer. You might have a lot less. And I think that we need to just remind ourselves again, tomorrow is not promised. You don't know how much time you have here on earth. And so every single day matters, and every single day counts. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. There's a few places that could have been a little bit stronger than I was hoping, or the way that I came about them, but it's okay. Again, we are doing our best every single day, and that is what matters. And I know I needed to get this episode out, so we made it work. But I really hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast episode. And yeah, I think that's it. I love you all. Thank you for this endless support. You guys are so amazing, and I will talk to you very, very soon.